Hello and welcome back. This is episode 2. I'm counting it as episode 2. The stash count was a bonus. But welcome. We're gonna talk about my projects. So last week was the first time I actually paid attention to how much I can knit in a week. So that was like the experiment. I felt like it was a lot of knitting. We're gonna go over what I did this week, and I'm still not sure. Still don't know. So, welcome. We are going to start off with a reminder about what my goals were last week. So we ended last week with 52 skeins of yarn. I did not have any goals as far as moving skeins in and out, other than we're trying to not acquire skeins. I wanted to finish Captain Worm's hat, and I wanted to finish the Rock It tee. So we're gonna find out if I made my goal. I wanted to finish the Rock It tee in time for the knit along session at the yarn store. So having said that, we're gonna start out with actually some sewing projects. So this week I did a little bit of sewing, so I'm gonna update you guys on that, I guess. And then if you like the sewing and want me to keep it, comment below so I know what to keep and what to get rid of, basically. So for those of you that don't know me in real life, I'm short. I'm very short. So the first project I did, there's like a pile. So this is my pile of potential. And it has stuff in it that needs to be hemmed and mended and stuff. So this week I hemmed a pair of linen pants. They got hemmed and then I wore them, and then I decided that I hemmed them a little too short, but it's workable. I may let them down just a little bit. We're gonna have to wait and see. And then this one, I got a new work shirt, and when it came, I was like, oh man, it was showing off a lot more than I expected it to. And then as I looked at it, I could see right here, I could see where the button was supposed to be, but the button wasn't there. I'm assuming somebody lost the button and then returned it, because it came in a package that made it obvious to me that it had been returned. If that happens to you, a lot of places, so I looked inside, it was on the seam inside was a spare button. So it was a real easy fix. It took less than 5 minutes, and I put the new button on, and now I have a nice shirt for when I work and I have to go out and be public instead of staying at home in my pajamas. So that was 2 things out of I call this the pile of potential. You can't really see it, but this is my desk, and this is how the pile is. I mean, I did it with the yarn. I know I can do it with the sewing stuff. It's possible. Next up, we're going to talk about our finished knitting projects, because I did finish knitting projects. If you guys remember last week, we had a special guest named Captain Worm, and Captain Worm's hat has been finished. Oh, Captain Worm. The child was very excited, and it got added to Captain Worm's pile. Beautiful. And there is enough yarn left over that I didn't move the skein out. I am planning on doing a pair of gloves for my child. The child does not know that's the plan. They just think that Captain Worm got a cool hat. The big goal is the Rock It tee by Tanis, Lavallee. I wanted to finish this, and I did finish it. I did a whole, that's 8 inches, I think is what I measured, 8 inches of knitting, just stockinette, and then I cord bind off. It does fit. It needs to be aggressively blocked though, because the bottom hem is rolling a lot, so I need to aggressively block that. The thing about this goal was to have it finished by the time it was the Knit-Along meetup at the yarn store, and I did not make that deadline. It was a self-imposed deadline. They usually are self-imposed deadlines. I didn't make that deadline. I finished it the next day. And I finished it the next day because I really, really wanted to finish it. I want to be able to wear it. This is my second Rock It tee, and this one I made with KnitWise Fibers Floofy Fingering. The colorway is called Newsprint, and I'm just really excited to have another knit t-shirt. So, again, it didn't move the whole skein out. I have 23 grams left over, and I know that's enough for me to potentially get some shorty socks out of if I use a contrast heel and toe. That's also enough for me to do like a preemie hat maybe, or just like one sock. I do have that sock project that I'm planning on, of just making a bunch of mismatched socks so the child can have socks. So those are all of my finished projects this week. Okay, so if you remember from last week, I try to keep my projects to like a minimal number. So I finished 2 out of the 4 projects that were active projects last week. That was what you just saw, Captain Worm's hat and the rocket tee. So I only have 2 active projects, which I think it's gonna be a little boring. So the first one is the Mitered Crosses / Sweet Shop blanket adaptation that I'm doing, where I kind of mix match those patterns, and I'm making this rug. It is Darn Good Yarns Chiffon Ribbon Ombre, and I started out the week, it wasn't really a goal, but more of like a to-do list thing to do. So I wound the next 2 colors in the ombre. And then this has just kind of been it stays here on the sewing desk, and I do a row or 2 every day. You know, it's not the top priority at the moment. I mean, it could be because it's 4 skeins that will move out of the stash, but it's also, you know, I have other stuff that's fun and that I want to be doing. So I did start the second square in it. I feel like it's gonna end up being a decent size, especially if I stretch it a little bit when I block it. It may end up being front like doormat sized, which is good. That's kind of what I was aiming for. So that's the first project, and then that's the only project that I have here in the house. The next project that I have going is the car knitting, so we'll go over to the car for car knitting. It's car knitting time! I still want to jingle, you guys. If you know someone, hook me up. So car knitting this week, I only got that much done. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So if you remember last week, I got like a good 4 inches done. It was a decent chunk, and a lot of that was because we had gone camping, and it was my camping knitting. This week, not a lot got done for a couple of reasons. One is that during extracurriculars this week, I really needed to go for a run for my mental health, and so I did not sit outside the extracurricular for very long knitting. I went for my run instead. So that is, some weeks we prioritize our mental and physical health. And then another reason is the Rock It tee that I wanted to get finished. I brought it with me a couple places. So when normally the card knitting would have come and been my meeting knitting, it wasn't this week. I brought the Rocket tee along and used that as the meeting knitting instead, so that I could get it done. But yeah, car knitting, I have thought about bringing it inside for bedtime knitting now that Captain Worm's hat is done. but then that increases the likelihood of me forgetting about it and ending up somewhere without knitting. And I know some of you out there are going to be like, oh, that's totally fine, but it's not. It's not. I need something to do with my hands. I posted a short earlier this week of me knitting, and you can see in the short that I'm looking around and paying attention to other people. When I have a project like this, I can watch TV, I can read, I can hold a conversation, and it just, having my hands busy doing something helps me focus a little more. So, not having car knitting available to take in places with me, it makes me need to go running more. It makes me need to run more because then my frustration levels increase and all that. So, not a lot of car knitting this week. We'll move our fun little marker up. When I'm looking at car knitting, I would love to have this done in time for the cold weather. Having said that, it is, cold weather is still 2.5 months away, maybe, because we live in the south and it is still really hot here. It's still hitting 90 degrees regularly, and then the feels like with the humidity ends up being like anywhere from 92 to 102, just depending on the day. So it's possible that it will get done in time for cold weather. Maybe I'll have a more interesting car knitting project in a couple months. So we might end up doing car knitting every other week, just because it's going to be the same project for a while. Anyway, have fun. If you have car knitting, make sure the car is parked while you are knitting, unless you are being a passenger princess. All right, short car knitting segment. So that means I only have 2 active projects going on right now, which is the car knitting and this rug. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to just focus on the rug this week, if I wanted to start a new project. I have a lot of projects that I want to do, and so I just had a few moments of, ooh, should I start just one? Should I start more than one? I'm going to talk about one that I did start. So if you're not following me on Instagram, I am on Instagram. Same handle, Made by Jack. Jack is spelled with a Q, J-A-Q. And I posted these 2 yarns. Hang on, let me get this one out too. These 2 yarns together. This is Monarch Butterflies from Destination Lane a couple years ago. This is called Cast Iron, and one of our local yarn stores had it special made for their anniversary. Apparently 1 year the traditional anniversary gift is cast iron, and it has it's got the cute orange in it that pairs really well with the Monarch Butterflies colorway. So I posted the yarns, and then I posted 4 potential patterns that I would be like, I wanted to make, but I couldn't decide. So I let people vote, and it was like 2 and 2, and then those 2 winners went head to head, and then there was a winner that was declared, and it was the Twisted T-shirt by Little Wolf Knits, which is Brianna Lupino. That one, and I posted that I would start it at some point in the future and keep people updated on it. So I cast on last night, and it also meets my arbitrary knitting rule of learning a new skill or practicing a new skill. So on my Advent sweater last week, it was learning tubular cast off. And so this one was learning the tubular cast on. So you have this really fancy professional looking beginning to the round. If you are a knitter and you know how to do long tail cast on, tubular cast on is really, really similar, so it was way easier than I expected it to be. And then the first 2 rows is like a knit slip pattern. Brianna has her own tutorial, and I have it linked down in the notes. There's also a tutorial that Brianna talks about from Andrea Mowry that was really good too. I ended up using the Andrea Mowry one because I have a tendency to look at a pattern and change it basically. So for Brianna's pattern, part of it is twisted, the stitches are twisted, and I didn't want to do twisted stitches, sorry, so I didn't. So I went to Andrea Mowry's cast on, which will also be posted here, and got that started. So yay, I will be posting updates on Instagram as well, because that's where the people voted for this project to happen. And that's it. So we're gonna go in and talk about goals for the week next. So I didn't move any skeins of yarn out. I had the 52 skeins at the start of the week, and I still have 52 skeins. Destashing has been such a focus of mine this past year that I'm trying to mentally, now that I'm like actually writing down goals and being accountable to you all for them, like I'm trying to not be like, you have to get rid of yarn every week, but I kind of want to. I kind of want to. So I'm thinking I may try to move out at least one skein. Like I have a little scrap ball of yarn that I've been meaning to use for a bookmark, and once I make that bookmark I can move that ball out, so that would be down to 51. So I think it's gonna be to make the bookmark, or bookmarks maybe too, and move that yarn out. And then as a bonus, like if I could, maybe I'll start like the mismatched sock project, because I know I can bang out a sock pretty fast, but I also have a couple of like leftover yarns that I love that I was thinking of using as like the contrast toe in a socks. So it's possible to get 2 skeins of yarn out this week. I think I could get 2 skeins of yarn out this week if I really wanted to. So that would be goal number 1. Because I have not been sewing a lot lately, I do want to set a sewing goal too. I have, this right here is another pants that needs to be hemmed. They are cut, they just need to be folded up and hemmed. So I think that's going to be my sewing goal for the week. I have a project the child asked me to do for them, so I'm gonna see if I can get that project done for them as well, because it's easy. It's not a lot of sewing. I do have this pile here. I have a pile, and the pile, I don't want to be like it needs to go away, but it would greatly reduce stress if it was smaller. And if you all want more sewing stuff, let me know, because that'll motivate me to get more stuff done. For those of you that don't know me, I went to school for costume design, costume making and costume design, and stopped that degree a semester before I was finished, because I realized it was not, it just wasn't what I wanted out of life at that point. I mean, I still like making costumes and stuff. I make costumes for my child every year. They design their own costumes, draw pictures, and I make it for Halloween, and it's really fun. But that's also really low pressure. Working in theater was a little high stress, high pressure, not the best situation for me. So if you guys want more sewing stuff, let me know, and that will help motivate me, and I'll keep working away on this knitting stuff. If you guys have like knitting or sewing questions, comment them below so that I can feel a little more like I'm talking to not just me, not talking to myself here. And thanks for subscribing. I got new subscribers this week, and that was really exciting for me. So, short episode, I guess. I feel like it's not very long this week, but that's how it's gonna be sometimes. And you all have a great week. Go complete a side quest. My side quest was hemming those pants. Go complete a side quest if you're able to, and spend some time outside if it's not like a million bajillion degrees like it is here. So, bye.